Peasant Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Occupy ISS, Operation Snowball, again going into data from the 1970s, middle of 1980s. Remember, all the materials available, all the tooling, all the computer systems, all this stuff is much greater, much more powerful, much easier to access, use. People are more familiar with it, so all that kind of stuff is going to be a greater facilitator of what I'm saying. It's not going to be a burden to me. Okay, I want to talk about something here so that we can have a little bit of fun and get you to understand something that's not the space station. Like I say in an earlier video, the idea of a ring space station is always so pretty and looks so nice, and you've got it spinning, so you got that centrifugal force, so you have all of these areas out here that you can actually walk on and stuff, okay? The sphere is much better because while you still have all of this outside area, and yes, when you get up in the upper latitudes here, I mean, if you have I'm going to put a mark here, okay? Your north and south poles, and then it's all spinning. Okay, this area here will have less gravitational force because of the direction that it's spinning and the direction you're actually standing on that. But you have all of this area to do stuff. Now, I talked in an earlier one about just the idea of all of the facility, the levels you'll have, 200, 300 levels inside that sphere to use to facilitate life, hotels, plants, hospitals, schools, and also manufacturing. Because you see, if you build in this area your spaceports, because the rotation at those points is going to be so much less than it is here, it'll be very easy for a space shuttle, which they do all the time, to create a small rotational turn and match the speeds. More importantly, because you can lift off and come and go as you want, you're never stopping the sphere, you're never interfering with anything, everything comes and goes and it goes on with business. You also have the manufacturing okay, at both of these ends. And the reason why I want to put manufacturing there, and this is much more important for those of you that are considering what I talk about with the ores and stuff like that, where you need to produce raw material, okay? If you got this satellite out there and there's nothing around it for a while, you can very easily extrude a 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 mile long I-beam or piece of wire or glass rod or ceramic, and if you needed to be, say, nitrogen tempered steel or something like, or titanium or something like that, you could actually have a shielding that you could build first, kind of like, just a little dome to go around it, and then you just extrude the thing in. Why? Because there's absolutely nothing on either end to stop you from doing it, unless somehow somebody puts their space station right on top of you. You can't do that on Earth, because when you try and run that mile-long piece of metal out, what happens? It's got gravity pulling it down. It's got something reacting against you getting away with doing an entire piece like that. Here, you will never run into that problem until, I don't know, maybe you try to do a 1,000-mile-long piece, and at that point there's actually some problem where the rotation here, maybe at 100 miles, I guess I would have to say, probably at 100 miles you might have some kind of a twisting going on into your I-beam or something like that because of the rotation and stuff. But you have an unlimited amount of stuff you can be putting out. You can very easily have one of these things being a smelting system where the center band here is almost all solar panels, so you're constantly pulling all this solar energy in. Inside you have the big melters and stuff. You have one end where you're pulling all kinds of material in, and you've got both ends where you can do your extrusion, and you got the other end where you've got, you know, the business end for people coming and going, and food and whatever else you need, and the smaller packets of stuff, and all of the stuff you need to deal with. And it's very easy to just take it outside and put it in orbit around you and tie a little tether onto it and leave it out there, out of the way. You don't have to use massive amounts of space inside for your storage, okay? You know, there's so much facilitation in this. I will get into this a bit more here. Yeah, I've got enough time, you know. Where am I? Like I say, it's something with like a hospital system, and you've got, okay, you got the zero gravity down here, okay, and facilitate what you can do, whether it's a hospital, a manufacturing, a home. I think it's Heinlein, but I think there's several different writers that they talk about some of the theatrical stuff that goes on in zero gravity and near zero gravity of artists wanting to perform stuff down there, okay, where people are just floating. The same thing, of course, would be out here on either side, too. The inner rings, as you move up, will gradually increase. Like I said, you have a burn victim, especially. Think of how many burn victims are laying in bed. They've got, 75, 80, 90% of their body is burned, which means they're always laying on a wound. It festers, it gets infected, it's got to constantly be treated, it's constantly scrubbed by the nurses. These people are in extreme pain. They can't handle having you thrown onto a nice, starch sheet bed because they're in too much pain of it. Well, you've got all these inner areas here where you can put those people, and they'd be more along the lines of some kind of just a minor tether of a cocoon, and they're safe, and they're in an environment that is so pure. Everything you do is constantly using filters and checking things out, that the diseases can't travel very far or very fast. You can have vacuum chambers in between places that you need to have extremely pure, clean rooms and stuff like that. You don't have any of that possibility on a planet because you don't have the ability to create what's going on here, okay? And again, the manufacturing of metals and ceramics and glass, what kind of stuff has been discovered already on NASA, ISS, and other Apollo missions? Japanese, French, Russians, Chinese, all of these people have been developing new stuff. Teflon is from the space industry. Graphite use is most prevalent because of being used around the space industry, where they couldn't have the oils and stuff because it would cause other problems other places, so they needed the dry graphite powder. Various things like this are facilitated and used here without an issue. And like I say, this system of producing stuff here, I got the comment again, the rats, okay? You need these huge spools of wire. Well, what's keeping you from making it here? What's keeping you from having the spools come out and run through a big long tube that tempers it and cools it, and 2 miles or 3 miles away from this object here, way up here is where another object is actually spooling in the wire as it's being made, and the guys getting their spools of wire and going out and finding more asteroids to bring back to make more stuff. Yeah, okay, so we get back to the problem with everything I'm showing you literally creates not only people to buy this stuff, but places to make this stuff, places to process this stuff, places to sell this stuff. Okay? Yeah. Like I said, I'm not one of your little, I can only think of one thing at a time. I'm talking about whole planet problems. I'm talking about whole in-the-space solutions. Again, you've got the taxi system to take care of you. Internal greenhouses are possible in here. You've got the whole outside that you can cover it in stuff. I've done medical marijuana, so I'm extremely aware of the fact that the color of light and the number of hours that it is on a plant will force it to go from just a green and growing stage, early spring stage, to fall. And if you want to, you can take a marijuana plant that's only about this, from here up, this actual plant, this is pot down here, but it's only about this tall, and you can put it, put the right color of light and the right number of hours on it, and it will begin flowering, and you will know whether it's a male or female plant just that fast. Okay, the same thing happens with corn and wheat and all of your other stuff. So you bring that all up here, you got it all growing, you've got all the power you need for it. Everything's a working system. Okay? So I say, stop and think about this, and like I say, stop and think about the fact, toss me a couple of bucks for donations to keep me yakking about this stuff, and literally draining my brain of 30 to 40-year-old information on how to survive, because you do not have any answer for your pollution. You do not have an answer for this. MIT did do a thing in the 1970s that showed that there would be an extreme decrease in human population in 2020. This is 2018, September of 2018, which means that theoretical 2020 die-off, right here, looking you in the face, is supplied right here by your pollution, and you have about a year and 3 months, 4 months to get it figured out. Yeah. Not very smart when you think about that. I don't know that their computer took this stuff into effect, but I guarantee you the spiritual realm is concerned about that, and that's why they've asked me to step up and try and make something of a difference here. Okay?